What's going on YouTube? It's Brazen back here with another video for you guys. If you guys are enjoying the content, if you guys want to hit a like down below, subscribe if you guys are new here, and leave a comment letting me know you subscribe so I can welcome you to the family. And that being said, cue intro. What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Shinobi Striker video for you guys. Here today we're going to be going over the top 10 substitutions in my personal opinion. Once again, as I kind of did with the other list as well, this isn't going to be in order because obviously it really depends on what you actually want from your build. You know, what build you're playing, what role you're playing, things like that. But I'm just going to be going over the top 10 in general that I think are pretty good to have depending on what you want. So first up is going to be just the basic substitution. Now obviously it's not going to give you a lot of, you know, stuns, anything like a lot of these other ones will, but it's a quick cooldown with 20 seconds and you just get out of there very quick. You just substitute very quickly to avoid enemy attacks. So depending on your build, you know, I think like a healer build, this one's pretty good because you really just want to get your substitution back quick so you could pop your heals. You don't really care if you stun them or anything because, you know, at least that's just my opinion, because you really stuns is so you can go back in and attack. Whereas, like I said, substitution is just normal heal in my personal opinion. Next up will be Shadow Clone, which this is kind of, you know, the same in a sense, a little bit longer cooldown, but you do make a clone of yourself. So I guess it's a little bit better to hide from enemies for a couple seconds. Personally, I would probably just rather use substitution over Shadow Clone if I'm using like a healer build. I have used Shadow Clone. I do think it's good depending on the build. I do think it's pretty good overall, but you know, probably not the best, but it's pretty good. You might as well take the 30 seconds for a lot of the other builds, but I do think it's good in general. Next up will definitely be Lightning on the list. Now Lightning is very, very good because basically when you switch out, if it hits the target, it paralyzes them and decreases their attack power. Obviously it has a long cooldown timer with, you know, the same as a lot of these, but being able to paralyze the target is huge for something like an attack build. Really attack, defense, range, any of those could be very, very useful because you can either go back in, use a jutsu, right? So if I was able to, let's say, substitute out, paralyze them, and then Hazan Strike as a defender, now they have no substitution, right? Or whatever the case is, could be super, super useful. So that's why I have Lightning Style on the list. Personal opinion, I think it's pretty good. Next up is going to be High Speed Movement. And this is basically going to be the same as substitution. I would use it kind of on builds that you want to be able to either get like a heal off or maybe a quick ability that you weren't going to be able to get off in the combo. Whatever the case is, that's when I would probably use high speed movement. You know, like I said, I like it on healer build because you can get your healing seal off a lot of times after you get your high speed movement, which will keep you alive long enough until maybe you get your other abilities back or whatever the case is. So that's why I personally have that. This is probably like the low end of the top 10 if I was to say, but it does have its place depending on builds. Next up is going to be the Sand Clone. Now Sand Clone, once again, it can bind and paralyze enemies. Yes, it does have a long cooldown timer. Pretty much any of the ones that have 30 seconds are going to say it has a long cooldown time, which is obviously going to be true, but you're going to be able to paralyze enemies or do different things compared to the lower cooldown. So depending on what you actually want from your substitution, people pretty much use any sort of type of it. But obviously being able to have that cooldown time is super useful. A shorter cooldown, but also being able to paralyze your enemies can make up that extra 5 seconds so you don't have a substitution, because maybe you can put them into a better combo that you wouldn't have been able to before. So next up is going to be Clay Clone. Now this one basically deals damage. That's basically what you get from it. So it'll explode. It's probably not very much used, to be honest. Like, I don't really see it around a lot. I just do think it could be better than a lot of, you know, some of maybe the crappier of the clones or the jutsus, right? The substitutions. But I think Clay Clone, at least you do damage, which could be useful if someone, maybe you guys are both like low health, or you do damage so they panic, right? Because now they're not full health, or maybe they're not half health anymore that they thought they were, or the case is. So I do think it could be very useful overall. It's just really going to depend you know, like once again, your build style. I probably would use this more on like maybe a range build, because if you use this and then you pop a majestic or something, maybe you insta kill people before they're even ready to, you know, play, right? Next up will be water. Once again, probably the lower end of the 10, but I do think it's good because it lowers the target's defense. It has that 30-second timer again, so it's pretty long, but I mean, maybe on like an attack build, I would say attack or defense is probably the ones I would use it on. Range, you probably want maybe a little bit more of a stun because you're not going to be great in hand-to-hand combat. Attack and defense, you can get back in there hand-to-hand combat or like close range combat. So I would probably use something like Water Clone would be useful because you lower their target defense. So if you're like attack, you can combo them better. And you'll do a lot more damage on that actual combo. So next up is not going to be Bird because Bird is horrible. It's going to be Paper Clone Jutsu. So Paper Clone, in my opinion, is really good because once again, you seal their ninjutsu. So I think on something like a defense, it's very useful, or something that you could, get rid of their substitution, because you'd be able to sub, if you Hazan strike them, now they don't have substitution and you'd already sealed their ninjutsu. So now you could put them in a little bit of a combo together, do a pretty good amount of damage. I think Paper Clone's pretty good. Sealing jutsus is very, very important in this game. Same thing as, getting rid of people's substitutions. Those are probably two of the most important things when you're looking at types of abilities and things like that, in my personal opinion. So next up is going to be not the Stone, because Stone is probably the worst one overall. It's going to be the Crystal Ice Mirrors right here. Crystal Ice Mirrors is very, very good because once again, freeze the enemy in the process and you increase their ninjutsu cooldown. So once again, you don't block their ninjutsus, but if maybe they already used them and they were about halfway to getting their jutsu back, let's say it's a 10-second or 16-second cooldown and they were 8 seconds through, now you increase their ninjutsu cooldown. So instead of 16 seconds, maybe it's 18 seconds. I don't know how much it actually increases it, but that is very useful. And you also freeze the enemy, so you can get back in their combo them, and then they don't have their jutsus back quite yet because now you use the ninjutsu. They have a longer ninjutsu cooldown. So just overall, I think that could be very, very useful. Also looks pretty cool with the Crystal Ice Mirror. Probably not one of the most popular ones you'll see, but it is very good in my personal opinion. And then last but not least will be Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. So early on, I was a big fan of this. I stopped using it as much, but the reason Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu is very good is you have 40 seconds, and basically what it does is it creates clones, and then they basically 3 clones and they go back towards them, but you can hold 2 of them at a time. So that's why this is very important, or a lot of people do use it. It's probably one of the most popular because you basically can substitute twice in one battle. If you go into the battle as your substitution's fully restocked, you can substitute twice, which can get you out of a lot of messes. Like I said, I used it a lot in the beginning. I don't use it as much now, but I do think it is very good. And like I said, a lot of people do use it, so definitely go ahead and check these out. Let me know what you guys think down below, which ones you guys personally like the most. This is just my opinion. Basically the ones I like are ones that stun, take away jutsus, and things like that, and then just the quick cooldowns as well. So go ahead and drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell, and as always, I will see you next time.